Hello and a very warm welcome from Chicago once again. This is Sadia Qureshi, and in today's video, I will be talking to all those teachers out there who think speaking activities are challenging, who feel that their students are not speaking fluently, they're not confident, they're not participating in the speaking activities. So in the video, I will be sharing 5 different challenges that I have observed teachers facing in classrooms. And this is not relevant only to one context. These are teachers working in different countries who are facing this problem. And then I will also be sharing strategies to overcome these challenges. In my previous video, I talked about the communication style. I talked about how you as a teacher should be talking to your students in the classroom. I talked about 2 main types of communication styles that I said were important, the dominant and the assertive. Now, the dominant is when you actually have to take charge and you say to manage discipline, to take control of the classroom, you have to say, I am the boss and I decide. For example, setting the rules, making sure that students remember the discipline they have to maintain in the class. Assertive is when you're giving out instructions. So for example, you are putting them to task and you are encouraging, facilitating communicative activities, right? So my first question to all of you is, I want you all to reflect and think about your own talk time in the classrooms. If it exceeds more than 20%, there is definitely something wrong that's happening in that classroom. Take a step back. The ratio in which the students should be talking should be 80% and the teacher's talk time should be 20. I know it sounds a lot, but that is one major step that you have to take to encourage communicative activities, communicative conversations with your students. Now, when I talk about the talk time, it is imperative that the teachers understand the role of being a facilitator, where you, as teacher, you're only encouraging students to participate in doing certain tasks, which include the speaking activities, right? So just remember that you're not there to dominate anything. Your role as a teacher is not to make sure you're giving out information, but it is to make sure that the students have that freedom to express their opinions. And this goes across all different subjects, whatever subject you teach. Now, a lot of English books I have seen have speaking activities, that speaking is an element embedded into course books. The problem is not that you don't know what kind of speaking activity you should do. But the problem really is how to involve your students. Working with so many educators out there, I have realized that there are actually, maybe there are more, but I will be actually talking about 5 different problems that teachers face. Let's talk about them one at a time. So the first one that I want to talk about is that students are shy. The students are just not going to speak no matter what I do because they're so shy. And the second one is that they're afraid of making mistakes. The third problem is that their pronunciation is an issue. They can't pronounce the words correctly. The fourth problem can be that the vocabulary is so limited and we as teachers are not too sure what to do about vocabulary. The 5th main problem that I have gathered working with all these educators, teachers world over is large classroom, large number of students. So let's now talk about solutions to these 5 major problems. The first I said was your students are shy. Now, why do you think students are shy? Maybe because there are some cultural issues, maybe because of the social issues. Maybe there is something that is a personality, right? Maybe it has become a part of their personality that they're shy. So as a teacher, you have to make sure that you're building rapport with them. You are building a relationship with them. I always talk about having a smile. Smile creates wonders. It just silently breaks those barriers out there. So greet your students with a smile, chit chat with them, make sure that they know that this is an environment which is a happy environment. And that is going to be the first little step that you're going to take. Encourage them, appreciate them. Now for the second problem, that they're afraid of making mistakes. If you talk about English, unfortunately, there is so much focus that teachers give on correct English. So English is generally taught as a subject and not as a language. Now, if you think about it, there's a lot of depth in what I have just said. If you teach English as a subject, your focus totally goes on the rules, the grammar rules, but not the implementation. But if you're teaching English as a language, you're automatically encouraging students to speak without any fear. So if they are scared of making mistakes, you as a teacher are going to inculcate an understanding in them that this environment is a safe environment. We're all here to learn, and ask them just to say out the message without focusing on accuracy. Fluency will develop only if you teachers and the students in the class encourage each other. Remember, fluency comes first. Accuracy will follow, right? So if you are encouraging them, if you are saying, all right, just say whatever you want to, that's fine. That is the first step of actually encouraging them to say what they want to. Now, the third problem I talked about was accent, or pronunciation rather. Now, pronunciation, we do understand, and this is also connected to the previous point I said, we do understand that students might have a lot of interference from the first language that they speak. So if they speak Spanish, if they speak French, if they speak Urdu or any other language, that will constantly will create hindrance in their speaking, right? So they might not be able to speak English very well. So what do you do as teachers? It is extremely important that you model words for them. For that, remember, the key is to be prepared. So if there is a word and you're not too sure how you have to pronounce it, please go to YouTube, type in correct pronunciation and only listen to that pronunciation. Yes, the accent might be different, American, British, Australian. That does not matter. But as long as you are saying the word correctly, in pronunciation, there's another thing that really works, which is called drilling. Now, drilling is a technique that teachers use. Drilling basically means that you are modeling and then you're using your hands, your gestures, and you're saying, okay, repeat. So you point out just like this at one person and the person repeats, your student repeats. When you do this to a certain group, that part of the classroom repeats. When you do this, it means that all of the students are going to say it together, right? So for example, there's a new word that you have taught and you want to drill that word into students. Use these gestures, use these body language, your hands, one student, this group of students, all of you. And because of these drilling techniques, the students will be able to repeat. And when they start repeating, their pronunciation automatically starts improving, right? The next important problem or challenge that has come up is vocabulary. Now, vocabulary development. It is imperative that you're not bombarding students with vocabulary. Now, when they have limited vocabulary, what do? You use a technique. You could use visuals. You could show them posters, pictures, so that they can see, they can visualize, and they can start picking up words. You can also put down a few words on the board or display them on the chart paper. They can then use those as classroom language or vocabulary, and they can start saying or repeating those words, using them in their discussions, right? As a teacher, you're saying, okay, look at the words, use them in your discussion. Use them when you're speaking to your friends. And the last, fifth problem that I have identified is large classrooms, large number of students. So the challenge really is for the teacher here to manage those students. The question is, are you as a teacher going to, in those 40, 45 minutes or whatever number of time you have in the classroom, are you going to listen to every student? Is it humanly possible to do that? And of course, the answer is no, it's not possible. Break them down into smaller groups once you assign them the task. Let them talk to each other. Even if L1 is interfering in their message, it's all right. It's all right. Go around, monitor, make sure everyone is involved. Have students representing their group and reporting back. Now, when we say it is important that the teachers are encouraging the students to speak, it does not mean that you're putting them on spot. It just means that all the students out there should be speaking to each other, because once they start talking to each other, they automatically start becoming more confident. Your role as a teacher is just to facilitate that activity. You are not there to become impatient and ask for students to report back to you, because that is not your role. As long as students are involved, set the rules. So the first thing, always give instructions in English. The second, ask questions in English. The third, ask students to report back to you in English. Encourage them to use those vocabulary words, the classroom language that you have put down. Ask them to practice it and then involve them in activities. Think about how many people will be involved in the classroom. Are you doing a small activity? Is it dialogues? That's 2 students are going to sit down and talk? Is it a group work where you're putting students into smaller groups where they are engaged in, let's say, a role play? Or are you having a whole class discussion where everyone is encouraged to talk? I hope this video will answer some of your queries out there. I always say it's a slow process. We can never rush ourselves. We can never rush our students. Please start taking baby steps. In your comments, feel free to write down which activities you have been doing, which speaking activities you have been doing, and we can definitely talk more about the kind of speaking activities you can do with your students. I hope this video was beneficial. I hope to see you all very, very soon. Just stay happy, stay blessed, continue impacting your students, those around you, with a lot of affection, a lot of positivity. And we will see each other very soon with another video.